The galaxy had always thought of Earth as a tiny, unimportant planet. It was just a speck of dust floating in space, not worth anyone's attention. The Zorathians, a powerful alien race, were no different. They saw Earth as weak and easy to conquer, so one day their massive fleet descended upon the planet without warning. Great ships loomed in the sky, casting shadows over cities and towns. Panic spread like wildfire among the people below. Commander Vrax, the leader of the Zorathian forces, sent out a message to all of humanity. His voice echoed across every screen and device on Earth. "Surrender now," he demanded coldly. "Resistance is futile. Your world will belong to us." Most people froze in fear, unsure of what to do. Governments argued about how to respond, and military leaders scrambled to prepare for something they had never faced before: war with aliens. But not everyone gave up so easily. Alex Carter, a young astrophysicist working at NASA, refused to believe that Earth was helpless. He sat in his small office, staring at the screens filled with data about the Zorathian ships. His mind raced with ideas. Maybe there was a way to fight back. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was Emma Lewis, his childhood friend and now a high-ranking officer in the United States Space Defense Force, USSDF. "Alex, we need to talk," Emma said urgently when he answered. "This isn't just some random attack. These aliens are serious. If we don't figure something out fast, we're done for." "I know," Alex replied, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "I've been thinking about it too. Their technology is advanced, but it's not perfect. There might be a way to exploit its weaknesses." Emma listened carefully as Alex explained his plan. He had been working on something called quantum disruptors, devices originally designed to improve communication between satellites. But Alex believed they could be modified to interfere with the Zorathian systems. It was a risky idea, and it hadn't been tested yet, but it was better than doing nothing. As they spoke, news reports showed scenes of destruction. Cities burned under the assault of alien weapons. People screamed and ran for shelter. The Zorathians seemed unstoppable. Yet even in the face of such terror, Alex and Emma felt a spark of hope. They weren't soldiers or politicians, but they knew they had skills that could make a difference. Later that evening, Emma attended an emergency meeting with President Daniel Monroe and other world leaders. She presented Alex's idea, explaining how quantum disruptors might give humanity a fighting chance. At first, many were skeptical. The technology was experimental, and using it against the Zorathians would be dangerous. But time was running out. With no other options left, the leaders agreed to greenlight the plan. Back at NASA, Alex worked tirelessly alongside his younger sister, Lily. She was only 19 but already a brilliant programmer. Together, they fine-tuned the disruptors, making sure they would work properly when the time came. Every second counted. Outside, the skies remained darkened by alien ships. Explosions continued to rock the planet. Fear gripped the hearts of billions. Despite everything, Alex and Emma refused to give up. They knew that if they failed, Earth would fall. But if they succeeded, they might just inspire the entire planet to rise up and fight back. And deep down, they both believed that humanity still had a chance. After all, Earth wasn't just any planet. It was home. And sometimes, even the smallest speck of dust could shine brighter than the stars above. The plan was risky, but it was the only chance Earth had. Alex Carter and Emma Lewis knew that time was not on their side. The Zorathians were relentless, and every moment of delay meant more destruction for humanity. As they worked together, Alex couldn't shake off the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. If his idea failed, billions of lives would be lost. But if it worked, it could turn the tide of the war. Emma stood by his side, determined to keep him focused. "We can do this, Alex," she said firmly, her voice cutting through his doubts. "You're the smartest person I know. If anyone can figure this out, it's you." Alex nodded, though his hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the settings on the quantum disruptor prototype. "I just hope we're not too late," he muttered under his breath. He glanced at the screens showing live footage of the devastation outside. Fires raged in cities, and people ran for their lives as alien ships fired down from the sky. It was a nightmare. But Alex forced himself to focus. There was no room for fear now. Meanwhile, Lily, Alex's younger sister, typed furiously on her laptop. Her task was to write the software needed to control the disruptors. She had always been good with computers, but this was far beyond anything she'd ever done before. Still, she didn't complain. Instead, she poured all her energy into the code, double-checking every line to make sure there were no mistakes. "You okay, Lil?" Alex asked, noticing the dark circles under her eyes. "Yeah, I'm fine," she replied quickly, not looking up from her screen. "Just trying to make sure this works. We don't get a second chance, right?" Alex smiled faintly. Even in the middle of chaos, his little sister's determination gave him strength. Together, the three of them pushed forward, knowing that failure wasn't an option. While Alex and his team worked on the disruptors, the rest of the world mobilized for battle. News of the experimental weapon spread quickly, igniting a spark of hope among the terrified masses. Factories once used to build cars and appliances were repurposed to create weapons and equipment. Ordinary citizens volunteered to help in any way they could. Some joined the military, while others worked long hours in supply chains or medical centers. Humanity came together in a way no one had thought possible. President Daniel Monroe addressed the nation, speaking directly to the people. His voice was calm but firm as he explained the situation. "We are facing an enemy unlike any we have ever known," he said. "But let me tell you this. Humanity has survived wars, disasters, and hardships throughout history because of our courage and unity. Today, we fight not just for ourselves, but for future generations. We will not surrender." His words inspired millions. Across the globe, men and women prepared to defend their homes. Soldiers trained harder than ever before, pilots practiced complex maneuvers, and engineers worked around the clock to improve Earth's defenses. Everyone understood that this was a fight for survival. Back at NASA, Alex received updates from the front lines. The Zorathians had launched another wave of attacks, targeting major cities. Human forces fought back bravely, but were still outmatched. Casualties mounted, and morale began to waver. Alex felt the pressure mounting, but he refused to give in. He reminded himself why he was doing this. For his family, for Emma, for everyone who refused to give up. Finally, after days of non-stop work, the first batch of quantum disruptors was ready. They weren't perfect, but they were functional. Emma coordinated with her superiors to deploy them strategically, ensuring they would have the greatest impact. Pilots like Jason Reed and Sarah Mitchell volunteered to carry the devices into combat zones, risking their lives to test the new technology. As the first disruptors were loaded onto ships and planes, Alex took a deep breath. This was it, the moment of truth. He looked at Emma and Lily, both exhausted but resolute. "Let's show them what we're made of," he said quietly. Emma placed a hand on his shoulder. "We've got this, Alex. No matter what happens, we'll face it together." With that, the operation began. Humanity's last stand was about to unfold, and the entire galaxy would soon learn that Earth was not as weak as it seemed. As the quantum disruptors were deployed, a wave of determination swept across Earth. People from all walks of life came together with one goal in mind: survival. Factories hummed day and night, producing weapons, shields, and supplies. Farmers donated food to feed soldiers and refugees. Teachers turned classrooms into makeshift hospitals, and engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged infrastructure. It was as if the entire planet had become one giant machine, each part playing its role to keep humanity alive. Alex Carter watched it all unfold with a mix of awe and anxiety. He saw how ordinary people stepped up in extraordinary ways. A retired mechanic named Bob volunteered to help modify old fighter jets so they could carry the disruptors. A group of teenagers used social media to organize relief efforts for displaced families. Even children pitched in, drawing pictures of Earth's defenders and sending them to soldiers on the front lines. These small acts of courage made Alex feel both proud and responsible. If his invention failed, he would be letting down not just his team but the entire world. Emma Lewis spent most of her time coordinating with military leaders, making sure the disruptors were distributed effectively. She knew that timing was critical. The devices were still untested, and using them too soon or in the wrong place could waste their only chance. Emma pushed herself harder than ever before, barely sleeping as she planned missions and communicated with pilots. Her sharp mind and steady leadership earned her respect from everyone around her, even those who doubted the plan at first. Meanwhile, Lily stayed glued to her laptop, monitoring the performance of the disruptors in real time. She had set up a system to track how well they interfered with the Zorathians' technology. So far, the results were promising. When activated, the disruptors caused brief glitches in the aliens' weapons and shields. But Lily knew these successes were fragile. The Zorathians were smart, and if they figured out what was happening, they might adapt quickly. On the battlefield, things were getting worse. The Zorathians launched another massive attack, targeting power grids and communication networks. Without electricity, cities plunged into darkness, and panic spread like wildfire. Hospitals struggled to care for the wounded, and families huddled together in basements, praying for salvation. Despite the chaos, human forces fought back fiercely. Pilots dodged alien fire, while ground troops used every trick they could think of to hold their positions. Stories of bravery began to emerge. A soldier risking his life to save a child, a medic running into enemy fire to retrieve the injured. Humanity wasn't giving up without a fight. Back at NASA, Alex stared at the live footage of the battles. His heart sank as he saw buildings crumble and lives lost. For a moment, doubt crept into his mind. What if the disruptors weren't enough? What if his calculations were wrong? Then he remembered something Emma had told him earlier. We're not fighting because we're guaranteed to win. We're fighting because it's the right thing to do. Those words gave him strength. Alex returned to work, tweaking the disruptors to make them more efficient. He collaborated closely with Lily, bouncing ideas off her and refining the software. Together, they discovered a way to extend the duration of the disruptions, giving Earth's forces a better chance to strike back. As word of their progress spread, hope began to grow. Soldiers whispered about the new weapon that might turn the tide. Civilians cheered when they heard rumors of alien ships faltering under its effects. Even President Monroe mentioned it during a speech, calling it a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. But Alex and Emma knew the hardest part was yet to come. The disruptors were powerful, but they couldn't win the war alone. Humanity needed to fight smarter, not just harder. As Alex looked at Emma and Lily, he realized they were ready. They had prepared as much as they could. Now it was time to trust their work and themselves. The galaxy had underestimated Earth once. It wouldn't make the same mistake again. The first real test of the quantum disruptors came during a brutal battle over the skies of Chicago. The Zorathians had launched an all-out assault on the city, their massive ships hovering ominously above the skyline. Plasma cannons fired relentlessly, destroying buildings and sending shockwaves through the streets below. People scrambled for cover as debris rained down, but Earth's forces refused to back down. Pilots like Jason Reed and Sarah Mitchell took to the air in modified fighter jets equipped with the new disruptors. They flew in tight formations, dodging enemy fire while trying to get close enough to activate the devices. It was a dangerous mission. Getting near the alien ships meant risking their lives. But they didn't hesitate. For every pilot in the air, there were thousands of people counting on them back on the ground. Jason's jet shuddered as an alien blast narrowly missed his wing. He gritted his teeth and pushed forward, focusing on the target ahead. "Stay steady," Sarah's voice crackled over the radio. "We're almost in range." Finally, They reached the right position. Jason activated the disruptor, and for a brief moment, the Zorathian ship's shields flickered and failed. The other pilots seized the opportunity, firing missiles at the now vulnerable vessel. Explosions lit up the sky as the alien ship broke apart, crashing into Lake Michigan with a deafening roar. Back on the ground, cheers erupted among the soldiers and civilians watching the battle unfold. It was the first time humanity had managed to destroy one of the Zorathians' larger ships. The victory was small, but it proved that the disruptors worked. Word spread quickly, boosting morale across the planet. People who had been losing hope now believed that Earth could fight back and win. But the Zorathians weren't about to give up. They adapted quickly, changing their tactics to minimize the disruptors' effectiveness. Instead of staying in one place, their ships began moving erratically, making it harder for Earth's forces to target them. Ground troops faced new challenges too, as the aliens deployed robotic drones that overwhelmed defensive lines. Cities continued to burn, and casualties mounted. Despite the setbacks, humanity found ways to counterattack. Guerrilla tactics became a key strategy. Small teams of soldiers ambushed alien patrols, using makeshift weapons and traps to take out enemies. Civilians joined the effort, sabotaging supply routes and rescuing trapped survivors. In one instance, a group of farmers used tractors and trucks to block a convoy of Zorathian resources, buying valuable time for nearby towns to evacuate. In space, Emma Lewis led a daring raid on a Zorathian supply convoy. Her team, flying in stealth ships, managed to sneak past enemy patrols and disable several cargo vessels. The operation was risky, but it paid off. They captured vital intel about the aliens' technology, including schematics of their shield systems. This information would be crucial for improving the disruptors and planning future attacks. Alex, Carter, and Lily worked tirelessly to analyze the data Emma brought back. They discovered weaknesses in the Zorathians' shielding algorithms, flaws that could be exploited if the disruptors were calibrated just right. Alex spent hours fine-tuning the devices, while Lily updated the software to make them more precise. Their hard work paid off when the next batch of disruptors performed even better than before. As news of these successes spread, people around the world felt a renewed sense of purpose. Factories ramped up production, creating more disruptors and arming Earth's defenders. Volunteers poured into training camps, eager to join the fight. Even children contributed by collecting scrap metal and building simple tools for the war effort. Through it all, Alex, Emma, and Lily remained focused on their mission. They knew the road ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew they weren't alone. Humanity had shown incredible resilience, refusing to bow to despair even in the face of overwhelming odds. Together, they were proving that Earth wasn't just a planet, it was home. And no one takes away someone's home without a fight. The quantum disruptors had shown promise, but Alex Carter knew they were only scratching the surface. To truly turn the tide of the war, humanity needed to strike at the heart of the Zorathian fleet, their massive mothership. This ship was the command center for the entire invasion, and if it could be disabled, the aliens' forces would fall into chaos. The problem was getting close enough to the mothership without being destroyed. It was heavily guarded, surrounded by smaller ships and protected by impenetrable shields. Emma Lewis called a meeting with her team to discuss the plan. "We need to get inside their defenses," she said firmly, pointing to a holographic map of the alien fleet. "If we can plant a disruptor directly on the mothership, we might be able to disable its shields long enough for our forces to attack." Alex nodded, though his stomach churned at the thought of how dangerous the mission would be. "It's risky," he admitted, "but it's our best shot. If we pull it off, we'll give Earth a fighting chance." To carry out the plan, Emma assembled a small strike team. Alongside herself and Alex, she chose Ryan Brooks, an experienced astronaut known for his calm under pressure, and 2 skilled pilots who would provide cover during the mission. They would use the Eclipse Asterisk, a stealth vessel designed to evade detection by Zorathian sensors. The Eclipse wasn't armed for combat, but its ability to slit through enemy lines made it perfect for this task. As the team prepared for launch, Alex struggled with self-doubt. He couldn't stop thinking about what might go wrong. What if the disruptor failed? What if they were caught before reaching the mothership? He confided in Lily, who listened quietly before giving him a reassuring smile. "You've done everything you can," she told him. "Now it's time to trust yourself and your team." The night before the mission, Emma gathered everyone for a final briefing. She spoke plainly, her voice steady and confident. "This isn't just about us," she reminded them. "It's about every person on this planet. We're not doing this for glory or recognition. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. No matter what happens, remember that." The next morning, the team boarded the Eclipse. As the ship lifted off, Alex looked out the window at the devastated landscape below. Cities lay in ruins, and smoke filled the air, but there were still signs of life. People rebuilding, fighting, refusing to give up. It gave him strength. He turned to Ryan, who was checking the controls. "Ready for this?" Alex asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Ryan replied with a grin, though his eyes betrayed his nerves. The journey to the Zorathian fleet was tense. The Eclipse navigated through asteroid fields and avoided patrols, its cloaking system hiding it from view. Along the way, tensions flared between Emma and Ryan over command decisions, but both remained focused on the mission. When they finally reached the edge of the mothership's defensive perimeter, Alex activated the disruptor for a brief test. The signal worked, causing a flicker in the shields. "Okay," Emma said, her voice tight with determination. "Let's move in. Remember, we only have one shot at this. Make it count." As they approached the mothership, the enormity of their task hit them. The alien vessel loomed above them like a mountain, bristling with weapons and glowing with energy. For a moment, Alex felt overwhelmed, but then he remembered something Emma had said earlier. They weren't fighting for themselves. They were fighting for everyone. With that thought in mind, he steadied himself and prepared to face whatever came next. The Eclipse moved silently through the void of space, its cloaking system keeping it hidden from the Zorathian sensors. Inside the ship, the air was thick with tension. Alex Carter sat at a console, his hands trembling slightly as he monitored the disruptor signal. Emma Lewis stood nearby, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing the massive alien mothership looming ahead. Ryan Brooks and the two pilots exchanged quiet words, preparing for whatever might come next. As they approached the mothership, the team encountered their first challenge, a swarm of patrol drones guarding the perimeter. These small, fast-moving machines were designed to detect intruders, and even the slightest mistake could give away their position. The pilots maneuvered the Eclipse carefully, weaving between asteroids and debris to stay out of sight. For several tense minutes, the ship hovered in the shadow of a large rock, waiting for the drones to pass. "This is too close," Ryan muttered under his breath, gripping the edge of his seat. "If they spot us now, we're done." "They won't," Emma replied sharply. Her voice was calm but firm, cutting through the tension like a knife. "Stay focused. We've come this far. We can't afford to fail." Finally, the drones moved on, and the path to the mothership cleared. The team breathed a collective sigh of relief, though they knew the hardest part was still ahead. As they drew closer, Alex activated the quantum disruptor again, testing its range. A faint hum filled the cabin as the device sent out a pulse of energy. On the viewscreen, they saw the mothership's shields flicker for a split second before stabilizing. "It worked," Alex whispered, his voice filled with both awe and disbelief. "We can do this." Emma nodded, her expression grim. "But we'll only get one chance. Once those shields drop, the Zorathians will know we're here. We need to be ready." The Eclipse slipped into a docking bay on the underside of the mothership, using the brief window created by the disruptor. The bay was dark and silent, its systems temporarily disabled. The team quickly disembarked, moving cautiously through the alien corridors. The walls glowed with strange, pulsating lights, and the air smelled metallic and cold. Every step echoed loudly, making them feel exposed and vulnerable. Ryan took point, scanning the area for threats. "Keep your eyes open," he warned. "We don't know what's waiting for us." They soon found themselves in a large chamber filled with glowing panels and humming machinery. Alex recognized it immediately. It was the core of the mothership, the source of its power and shield systems. He knelt down, connecting the disruptor to the alien technology. His fingers flew across the controls as he worked to synchronize the device with the mothership's systems. "Hurry up, Alex," Emma urged, keeping watch near the entrance. "We don't have much time." "I'm going as fast as I can." Alex snapped back, frustration creeping into his voice. He glanced at the readout on his tablet, checking the progress of the upload. Just a few more seconds. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the chamber. Red lights flashed, and the sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance. The Zorathians had detected them. Ryan turned to Emma, his face pale. "We've got company. Lots of it." Emma tightened her grip on her weapon. "Alex, you've finished the job. Ryan and I will hold them off." "No way," Ryan protested. "You're not leaving me behind." "There's no time to argue," Emma shot back. "Do your job, soldier." With that, she and Ryan moved to block the entrance, weapons raised. Alex forced himself to focus, ignoring the sounds of gunfire and shouting behind him. His heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to let fear take over. Finally, the upload completed, and the disruptor sprang to life. The mothership's systems began to falter, its shields dropping completely. "We did it!" Alex shouted, turning to join the others. But as he reached the doorway, he froze. Ryan was gone, having sacrificed himself to buy them time. Tears welled up in Alex's eyes, but there was no time to grieve. Grabbing Emma's arm, he pulled her toward the exit. "Let's go." Together, they ran back to the Eclipse, dodging enemy fire and explosions. Behind them, the mothership groaned and shuddered, its systems collapsing under the strain. As they launched into space, Alex looked back one last time, watching as chaos consumed the alien vessel. They had done the impossible, but at a cost. The Eclipse streaked through space, its engines roaring as it raced away from the crumbling Zorathian mothership. Behind them, explosions lit up the darkness, sending shockwaves rippling through the void. The disruptor had done its job. The mothership's shields were down, and its systems were failing. But Alex Carter couldn't celebrate. His mind was filled with thoughts of Ryan Brooks, who had stayed behind to protect the team. Ryan's sacrifice weighed heavily on him, a reminder of the cost of their victory. Emma Lewis gripped the controls tightly, her knuckles white as she focused on getting them to safety. Her face was pale, but her voice remained steady when she spoke. "We're not out of this yet," she said, glancing at the rear-view screen. "If those ships regroup, we're sitting ducks." Alex nodded, forcing himself to push aside his grief for now. He knew Emma was right. They still had to survive long enough to reach Earth. On the screen, they could see smaller Zorathian ships breaking off from the chaos around the mothership, turning their attention toward the fleeing Eclipse. The aliens weren't giving up easily. "We need to lose them," Alex said, leaning over the navigation console. "There's an asteroid field nearby. If we can get in there, maybe we can shake them off." Emma didn't hesitate. She adjusted the ship's course, aiming for the dense cluster of rocks ahead. The asteroids were jagged and unpredictable, making it a dangerous place to fly. But it was also perfect for hiding. As they entered the field, the Eclipse dodged between massive boulders, narrowly avoiding collisions. The Zorathian ships followed, their weapons firing relentlessly. Explosions erupted around them, shaking the small vessel as debris rained down. "Hold on," Emma shouted, yanking the controls hard to one side. The Eclipse spun sharply, slipping into a narrow crevice between two large asteroids. For a moment, everything went quiet. The Zorathian ships passed by overhead, their sensors unable to detect the cloaked vessel hidden in the shadows. Alex let out a shaky breath, slumping back into his seat. That was too close. Emma didn't relax. Her eyes darted to the monitors, watching for any sign of pursuit. "We're not safe yet," she reminded him. "Even if we lose them here, we still have to make it back to Earth. And once we do, we'll need to figure out what to do next." For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence in the cabin was heavy, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's systems. Alex stared at his hands, still trembling slightly. He thought about Ryan again, about how brave he had been. Ryan had given his life so that they could complete the mission. And now it was up to them to make sure his sacrifice wasn't in vain. Finally, Emma broke the silence. "He believed in us," she said softly, her voice tinged with sadness. "Ryan knew what was at stake, and he chose to stay behind so we could finish the job. We owe it to him, and to everyone else, to keep going." Alex nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "You're right. We can't stop now. Not after everything we've been through." As the Eclipse emerged from the asteroid field, they spotted something in the distance, a human fleet, waiting in formation. It was a relief squadron sent to cover their escape. The sight of Earth's ships brought a flicker of hope to Alex's heart. They weren't alone anymore. Humanity had rallied, ready to fight back against the invaders. Emma contacted the fleet, explaining their situation. Within moments, fighter jets surrounded the Eclipse, escorting them safely back toward Earth. On board, Alex and Emma allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. They had struck a major blow against the Zorathians, disabling their command center and crippling their forces. But they both knew the war wasn't over yet. When they finally landed, crowds of people gathered to welcome them home. Soldiers cheered, and civilians waved flags, celebrating the news of the mothership's destruction. Alex stepped off the Eclipse, feeling overwhelmed. The weight of what they had accomplished and lost was almost too much to bear. But as he looked around at the faces of his fellow humans, determination began to replace his sorrow. Earth had fought back, harder than anyone expected. And they weren't done fighting yet. The news of the Zorathian mothership's destruction spread like wildfire across Earth. It was a turning point in the war, proof that humanity could stand up to even the most powerful enemies. People celebrated in the streets, lighting fireworks and singing songs of hope. But for Alex Carter and Emma Lewis, there was little time to rest. The battle wasn't over yet, and they knew the Zorathians wouldn't retreat without a fight. Inside the alien mothership before escaping, Alex and Emma had uncovered horrifying details about the invaders' plans. The Zorathians weren't just here to conquer. They intended to strip Earth of its resources and enslave its population. Entire cities would be dismantled, forests burned, and oceans drained. Humanity's home would become nothing more than a barren wasteland, mined for materials to fuel the Zorathians' empire. Alex couldn't shake the images he'd seen on the mothership's monitors. Blueprints of Earth marked with targets, lists of resources labeled for extraction, and chilling descriptions of how humans would be processed. He shared this information with President Daniel Monroe and other world leaders during an emergency meeting. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. "This isn't just about survival anymore," Alex said, his voice steady despite the anger boiling inside him. "If we lose, it's not just our lives at stake, it's everything. Our planet, our future, it'll all be gone." Emma stood beside him, her expression fierce. "We've shown them we can fight back. Now we need to finish what we started. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and make sure they never come back. The leaders agreed, authorizing a full-scale counterattack. Using data recovered from the mothership, military strategists identified key targets, supply depots, communication hubs, and remaining alien ships. Earth's forces prepared for one final push, determined to drive the Zorathians out once and for all. Meanwhile, Alex worked with Lily to refine the quantum disruptors further. They discovered that the virus uploaded to the mothership's systems had spread to other Zorathian vessels, causing glitches and malfunctions throughout the fleet. This gave Earth a critical advantage. Pilots like Jason Reed and Sarah Mitchell led squadrons into battle, using the disruptors to disable enemy shields and take out their ships. On the ground, soldiers fought fiercely to reclaim lost territory. Civilians joined the effort too, sabotaging alien equipment and rescuing trapped survivors. In one city, a group of teenagers used hacked drones to spy on Zorathian patrols, feeding real-time intel to nearby troops. Every victory, no matter how small, brought humanity closer to winning the war. But the cost was high, casualties mounted on both sides, and the scars of battle were everywhere. Burned-out buildings, shattered roads, and fields littered with wreckage served as constant reminders of the devastation. Despite the losses, people refused to give up. They clung to hope, drawing strength from stories of bravery and sacrifice. As the final assault began, Alex and Emma watched from a command center, coordinating attacks and monitoring the disruptor's performance. Explosions lit up the horizon as human forces struck back with everything they had. Alien ships fell from the sky, crashing into oceans and deserts. Ground troops pushed forward, driving the Zorathians back step by step. Finally, after hours of relentless fighting, the tide turned decisively in humanity's favor. The remaining Zorathian forces retreated, fleeing Earth's atmosphere in disarray. Their leader, Commander Vrax, broadcasted a message of surrender, vowing never to return. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving behind only silence. When it was over, Alex leaned back in his chair, exhausted but relieved. Emma placed a hand on his shoulder, her eyes shining with tears. "We did it," she whispered. "Against all odds, we won." But Alex knew the victory came at a price. Too many lives had been lost, too much destroyed. As he looked at the screens showing battered cities and weary faces, he made a silent promise. Earth would rebuild stronger than ever. And next time, they'd be ready.